You're ready for a deep dive into something kind of wild?
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
You're heading to Ferndale, California. It's known for its charming Victorian architecture.
Oh, very nice.
And, well, earthquakes. They just had a 7.0 magnitude quake.
Wow.
Their third December earthquake in a row.
Oh no.
We've got first-hand accounts, news reports, and scientific data, all lined up, ready to go beyond the headlines
That sounds great.
to see how this impacts the everyday lives of the people who live there.
It's fascinating. We often hear about the magnitude and the scientific details, but the human side of the story, how people cope with recurring earthquakes, especially during the holidays, that's what we're really diving into.
Okay, so first things first. Where even I ask Ferndale, I'm picturing those picturesque Victorian houses shaking like crazy.
You're not wrong to picture that. Ferndale's a small town in Northern California, nestled among redwood forests, but it's also right on the edge of the Mendocino Triple Junction, where three tectonic plates meet.
Triple Junction, is that like a geological rush hour?
Kind of. It's where the Pacific, North American, and Gorda plates all come together, making it incredibly active. That whole area is part of the Pacific Ring of Fire, known for its volcanoes and, you guessed it, earthquakes.
So basically, Ferndale's in a geological hotspot,
Yeah.
which explains the December earthquake trifecta, 3 major quakes in 3 years, all hidden right around the holidays. I mean, how do you even process that?
Imagine this. You're decorating your Christmas tree, getting ready for holiday gatherings, and suddenly everything's shaking.
Yeah.
And not just once, but 3 years in a row.
Right, it's December, not earthquake season. What are people saying about this?
Well, we've got some incredible stories from folks in Ferndale. There's Rhea, who was working at the Farmer's Daughter, a local restaurant. She said the ceiling was like jelly, and the floor was covered in broken glass and, well, goop.
Okay, I've heard of earthquakes knocking things off shelves, but turning ceilings into jelly? That's a whole new level.
Then we've got Merritt Brought, who remembers the 2022 quake there, too. She said that one was like the strongest G-force you could imagine, but this one was more like being on a rocking boat.
So from extreme G-force to a rocking boat, you think you get used to earthquakes, but each one seems to throw a new curveball. What about the long-term residents, though? They must be pretty prepared by now, right?
You'd think so. There's Bob the blacksmith, who said this December quake might have actually done more damage to his shop than last year's, and even at the Victorian Inn, a place known for its earthquake preparedness. They still had soaps flying off counters and a door popping off its hinges.
Wait, so even when you're prepared, a 7.0 earthquake can still wreak havoc?
Exactly. And it's not just about physical damage. Imagine the emotional toll, too. The feeling of your holiday season being disrupted year after year.
I'm starting to understand why they cable their Christmas trees to the walls in Ferndale. But this wasn't just a local event, right? I heard there was even a tsunami warning.
That's right. Millions of people in California and Oregon were put under a tsunami warning, which thankfully was later canceled. It was definitely a tense moment for a lot of people. Tsunamis are a serious threat. And even though this particular earthquake was less likely to cause one, you can never be too careful.
So why was this quake different? Did it not happen underwater?
It did happen offshore, but the way the tectonic plates moved played a key role. This was a strike-slip earthquake, where the plates slide horizontally past each other. It's like rubbing your hands together. You get friction, but you don't displace much water.
So it's like a sideways shake instead of an up and down one? Makes sense that it wouldn't create those massive waves.
Yeah.
But still, a 7.0 magnitude earthquake, even with a canceled tsunami warning, must have had a pretty wide impact.
Absolutely. Even in a city like San Francisco, which is over 200 miles away from Ferndale, people felt a noticeable rolling motion. And remember, this is a city that's quite earthquake savvy. There were disruptions to BART service evacuations in some coastal areas as a precaution, and I'm sure a lot of rattled nerves.
It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? We often think about the epicenter of an earthquake, but the ripple effects can spread far and wide.
Exactly, and it highlights how earthquake preparedness varies across regions. In Ferndale, where earthquakes are more frequent, people might be more accustomed to the shaking and have their emergency kits ready to go, but in places where earthquakes are less common, a 7.0 magnitude quake can still catch people off guard.
Which brings us back to the people of Ferndale. You mentioned they cabled their Christmas trees to the walls. What other kinds of things do they do to prepare for these recurring December earthquakes?
Well, they've definitely learned a thing or two over the years. We heard from Jenny Oakes, the owner of the Victorian Inn. Even though her inn is designed to withstand earthquakes, with furniture bolted down and such, she still lost some soaps and a door. But she just shrugged it off, saying, "We'll get the door fixed."
Wow, that's some serious resilience. Fixing a door after a 7.0 magnitude earthquake almost seems routine for them.
It's almost like they've incorporated earthquake preparedness into their holiday traditions. It's become a part of their December routine.
That's a fascinating way to look at it. So it's not just about physical preparedness, it's about a mental shift too. Accepting that earthquakes are a part of life in Ferndale, especially in December, and adapting accordingly.
Precisely. They're not letting the threat of earthquakes stop them from celebrating the holidays, but they're doing it with a healthy dose of caution and preparation.
It's a powerful reminder that we can live with uncertainty even when it comes to natural disasters. We can't control when or where an earthquake will strike, but we can control how prepared we are.
Absolutely. And that sense of control can make a huge difference in how we cope with these events. Knowing that you've taken steps to protect yourself and your loved ones can ease anxiety and fear.
It's about shifting from feeling helpless to feeling empowered. And it makes me wonder, what are some practical things people can do to prepare for an earthquake, whether they live in a high-risk zone like Ferndale or not?
That's a great question. And it's something everyone should think about. The first step is to have a plan. Where will you meet your family if you're separated during an earthquake? Do you have a designated out-of-state contact you can call to check in with?
It's interesting you mentioned an out-of-state contact. Why is that important?
Because local phone lines can get overwhelmed after a major earthquake. Having a single point of contact outside the affected area can make it easier for everyone to connect and share information.
That's a really helpful tip. What about those emergency kits we hear so much about? What should people actually have in them?
Your emergency kit should be tailored to your specific needs and location. But some essentials include water, non-perishable food, a first aid kit, a flashlight with extra batteries, a whistle to signal for help, and any necessary medications.
So we've got a plan. We've got a kit. What about our homes themselves? Is there anything we can do to make them safer during an earthquake?
Absolutely. One of the most important things you can do is secure heavy furniture to the walls. Imagine bookcases or mirrors toppling over during an earthquake. That's a recipe for injury.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I'm definitely going to have to check that off my to-do list.
Yeah.
What about other potential hazards?
Knowing how to shut off your utilities, especially gas, is crucial in case of a leak. And if you live in an older home, it might be worth consulting with a structural engineer to assess any potential vulnerabilities and make necessary reinforcements.
So earthquake preparedness is a multi-layered approach involving planning, gathering supplies, and even thinking about the structural integrity of our homes. It's not just about surviving the earthquake itself, but about being able to cope with the aftermath.
Exactly. And it's an ongoing process. It's not something you do once and forget about. It's about staying informed, practicing your plan, and regularly updating your emergency kit.
It's about making preparedness a part of our everyday lives. Just like the people of Ferndale have done. They've shown us that it's possible to live with earthquakes, even during the holiday season, without letting fear take over.
They've also shown us the power of community. In the face of these recurring earthquakes, they've come together to support each other, rebuild, and keep their spirits up.
It's amazing to see how the people of Ferndale have turned earthquake preparedness into a way of life. They've learned to adapt, to prepare, and to support each other, even when the ground is shaking under their feet. Literally.
They've turned what could be a terrifying experience into something almost manageable. And that's a powerful lesson for all of us, even if we don't live in an earthquake-prone area, because life is full of uncertainties, and being prepared both physically and mentally can make a world of difference.
So true.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, thinking about earthquakes, especially after hearing about what Ferndale's gone through, can be a bit overwhelming. Where do we even start?
Don't worry. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. There are tons of resources out there to help you get started. Organizations like the USGS have a wealth of information on earthquake preparedness. From creating a plan and building a kit to understanding the science behind earthquakes and assessing your home's safety.
Okay, so step one, get informed. And then what? What are some simple, actionable things people can do right now to feel a little more prepared?
Start by having a conversation with your family or housemates about what you would do in case of an earthquake. Where would you meet? Who would you contact? It sounds basic, but having a plan can really ease anxiety.
Yeah, I can see how that would make a difference. What about those emergency kits? I always mean to put one together, but it feels like such a big task.
Don't let it intimidate you. Start small. Grab a backpack or a plastic bin and toss in some essentials like water bottles, granola bars, a flashlight, and a first aid kit. You can build it up gradually.
So it's about progress, not perfection.
Right.
Little steps can make a big difference. Any other quick tips that come to mind?
Take a look around your home. Are there any heavy objects that could fall and cause injury during an earthquake? Secure those bookcases, mirrors, and picture frames to the walls. It only takes a few minutes and it could prevent a lot of damage.
Wow, these are all really practical and manageable steps. It's starting to feel less daunting already. It's really about making preparedness a part of our routine, just like the people of Ferndale have.
Exactly. They've shown us that living with earthquakes doesn't have to mean living in fear. It's about knowledge preparation and a strong sense of community.
And hey, maybe we can all learn a little something from their holiday spirit too. Cabled Christmas trees, anyone.
Well, maybe not that extreme, but their resilience and determination are definitely something we can all aspire to.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the December earthquakes in Ferndale, let's take a moment to appreciate the strength and adaptability of the people who live there. Let's remember that preparedness, no matter where we live, is a journey, not a destination. Even small steps can make a big difference in helping us feel more confident and secure no matter what life throws our way.